Hi, good morning, everybody, and thank you for joining us on our webinar today. We have the lovely Sally Bendtson here from Limelight HR. Sally will be joining me throughout this adventure on this webinar, where we're going to talk about how to make sure your employees are and remain your biggest marketing asset. We'll jump straight in then, shall we, Sally?
Yeah,
going. Okay, so Sally, if you'd like to introduce yourself.
Yeah, so I'm the founder of Limelight HR and speaker, and we've got a book on Amazon as well. We've had a bestseller on there that helps managers manage their teams. And I've had 10 years of in-house HR experience working with big media companies like BBC and Nickelodeon and Guardian. And the business Limelight HR has been going for the last 6 years.
Brilliant, thank you. And I'm Danni Johnson. For those of you that have not met me before, I'm the digital marketing manager here at Xpand, and my experience spans 19 years, which makes me feel really old, in sales, marketing, recruitment and people management. I have been trained by LinkedIn in my previous role, and I am CIM certified, which I'm very proud of, because that was all self-funded, so not that I like to talk about it. So yes, hello from us. So where we work then, Sally?
Yeah, I've gone with a very professional shot. We started Christmas early in the office, so this is us doing everything we love, dressing up, having fun. But yeah, we're a Harrogate-based business. Like I said before, we've been going 6 years, and we do specialise in media and creative SMEs because that's my background. However, generally our main focus is working with businesses that value their people and take a people-led approach, and we are lovers of all things Christmas.
You can't tell.
I haven't got much behind me though.
Yes, you should have had a Christmas tree or something. You didn't prep
a snowflake.
Loving it. Okay, and so I work for Xpand, and Xpand are a full-service digital marketing agency, and we're based here in Saltaire on the lovely cobbles in West Yorkshire. We established in 2007. We've just recently celebrated 15 years, so we're quite happy about that. We're a bit of a lively bunch. We like to have a bit of fun. As you can see, so there's props all around the office. Honestly, Jag's just obsessed, and just everything that his wife doesn't allow in his house ends up here. So yeah, we've got lots of that. Okay, today I just briefly want to introduce you to our process that we use whenever we work with any clients. So we use what we call Solar 7. So what this encompasses basically is there's 7 stages throughout the marketing process. Initially, we get to know and understand our clients through what we call our discovery phase, which is phase number 1. Then in number 2, strategy is where we go away and kind of encompass everything. We do all the research, we learn about the client, but also their competitors, everything. So there's a lot of research that goes into that. Then in the middle here, we have website and brand and content, which is obviously at the heart of everything that we do and that anybody does when it comes to their marketing. So it's essential that this is right. This then feeds into the website in stage 4, and then around the edges you can see stage 5, which are all of the channels that we work with. Then of course we review and measure at stage 6, and then 7 is our return on investment, so which obviously then every business needs to be managing. So the reason that I've brought this up is just to show you that we are today covering employee engagement and employee advocacy, which is obviously an important part of brand, and it feeds out into everything that we do when we're talking about this process. Okay, so what we'll cover today. So the 3 key areas companies need to understand from a HR perspective, the lovely Sally will be running through that with you all, and obviously that building a successful business that people love to work in. We'll also talk about how and why engaged employees are vital of your a vital part of your marketing strategy, and then we'll lead into talking about what employee advocacy is, and what you should be doing in your business to promote it. So before we start though, we'd like you to do a little poll. So how many of you would say that your employees are engaged? So if you can just answer that for us. Interesting. Okay, right, so can we share the results? Let's close that, share the results. That's an interesting split, isn't it? Do you think, Sally, can you see that?
Yeah, that's definitely interesting. That's good to know. Always room for improvement.
Yeah, definitely. So disengaged employee on an average salary of 35,000 would cost a business £7,000. So yeah, as you were saying, Sally.
Yeah, I mean, you've got everything from people not being efficient in their jobs to taking time off sick to having an impact on the motivation of other members of the team, of potentially needing to recruit new people. So yeah, it's probably 7K plus.
Yeah, like literally a minimum, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're now going to take over and talk us through obviously the things that you can.
I keep looking for like an arrow button to move the slide on and realizing I can't, which is a good thing. Yeah, so I'm going to talk through the 3 key concepts. I suppose just from having worked in a number of big businesses, big kind of media brands, and then also working with a number of SMEs since setting up Limelight HR, there's a lot of overlap in terms of what's required to make a business successful and to engage people. And so over time, I've built up everything that we feel we can help people implement, or we can at least help them assess in order to put themselves in the best place possible. And that really comes under 3 key concepts. So that's building the foundations, being a leader, and ultimately bringing joy. So we'll look at the leadership point first. So I've just included a quote on there, but it's essentially the reason we talk about building the foundations is because you can get carried away, especially when you set up a business, being a bit scattergun approach to doing all different things. But actually, if you don't have the essentials in place, you haven't got that strong foundation to build from. It's not the really sexy, exciting bit necessarily, but it's really fundamental to business success. I think I sort of look at it as, say you build a brand new house, and we've all been to see new builds and they can look all shiny and new and show home, but actually if the company that's built them hasn't done a good job on it and they haven't got the foundations right, you end up with a huge snag list, you end up with massive costs that weren't expected, and it just doesn't fulfill what was required or what was needed. And then essentially the people that are living in it or have bought it are let down and disappointed, and also the reputation of the firm ends up being impacted by that. So it's really making sure that all those basics in place. So what I want to do is go through some of those elements today to give people an idea of what it is they should have covered, and I'll try not to get into too much detail. It's easy to get carried away, but I want people to be able to take enough away that they could think about what they've got in place, or if there's more that they could be doing. So for me, it really starts with the purpose, vision, mission and values, because essentially that's, as a business, being really clear about what it is that you do and why you do it, so that you can explain it not just to your clients or to your customers, but to the people that come on board. Because if they don't know why they're really there or what you expect of them, then how can they ever be as successful in their jobs as they should be? And then the next stage for me is getting the recruitment right. Somebody said it's the first 7 people in your business that make or break the business. And I think it's very easy, particularly as a small business, to feel rushed to recruit because you're really busy, you haven't got the time to spend a lot of time in it, you just need somebody on board doing the job. But actually, if you don't get the fundamentals of recruitment and the process and the way in which you do it, and put the time and effort into it, it does actually have a longer term impact on the business anyway. You want the best people there to ensure success. The next stage for me is about onboarding and induction. So again, you see a lot of businesses, and I'm talking about the big businesses as well, that get people in, and the person's basically given up a job that they were maybe happy in, but looking for something a bit different, and they're nervous, and then they go to this new job where they're all excited, but actually nothing's put in place for them. There's no engagement from the business before they join, and then when they do join, the phone doesn't work, they can't log into the computer, they don't know who anybody is, they don't know how to do the basic things like book holidays and sickness. So it's really important to get all of those basics in place and make sure somebody has a good process of being brought on board and feels excited and feels like they're wanted, and yeah, people want them there. And then I suppose the really unsexy bit is the contracts and the policies and the handbooks, but that's really where you're setting out what it is that you do and what you do to support your staff, protect your staff. And it means that everybody on both sides is really clear about what is expected of them and what they can expect from their employer, and shows that you're looking after them, that you're doing everything that legally that you're supposed to do, but maybe also that you're doing things that are over and above. And yeah, they might not be the most exciting thing, but you can really use templates and policies and things, but make them branded to you. So yes, some businesses just go to a one-stop shop where they download all the documents, but actually if you really want to bring your brand to life and you really want to encourage certain types of behaviors and get people on board with what you're all about, there's a real opportunity there to do something fun and interesting with those documents. And then it's about managing performance. So from the point that somebody comes on board, being really clear about what their objectives are so they know what they need to achieve in order to pass their probation, having a clear process around all of that, but also how you manage ongoing feedback and support. Not doing a once a year appraisal where everybody goes, oh my God, I'm dreading this meeting and I don't know what I'm going to cover. And it's about making sure you've got something in place that means people have got regular, consistent feedback. And also then it means it's easier for people to have those conversations because they have them so regularly. It's not awkward or uncomfortable. It's just a general, open, honest, two-way chat. So people are getting really consistent feedback, and also they can talk about their development. And that leads into also having the training and development element of it. So being clear about what skills do you need in your business to progress, because we all know nothing stays the same. It hasn't done for years now, and we don't know what's around the corner. So being really clear as a business what your future goals are and what skills you will need in the business in order to achieve those helps you then look at your team and go, okay, where can I upskill people that are already in the business? Because also that leads then into their personal development, their loyalty, their motivation. An HR system is another fundamental to a business. Even if you're small, it gives you an opportunity to manage all the paperwork, doing the new joiner checks, but also gives people an easy way to request holidays or manage their sickness. And takes another sort of admin task off your hands. And management training is really important as well. If you've got people in the team who have maybe progressed, again, we've all worked in companies where somebody's an absolutely brilliant salesperson, and then when they become a manager of the team, they've never had any management training. And there's very few people that are naturally good managers. It really is quite a skill, and it takes time and experience, and people need to be nurtured themselves into becoming good managers, and they need that support. So having some kind of training and process to help them achieve that, because essentially the team can only be good as good as the manager is and allows them to be. And then it's looking at things like your pay and benefits, making sure you have processes around that. What I see with a lot of small businesses is in a good way a really flexible approach around things like pay increases or promotions or bonuses, but that can ultimately be the undoing of a business when you don't have much process around it and you're picking and choosing at different points, maybe with no kind of negative connotation to it, But actually, as more people start talking to each other and they go, well, I didn't get included in that, and why didn't I get that much? And if you haven't really got an answer as to why you've done certain things, it actually starts to create a bit of mistrust in the team. So it is worth thinking about how and why you do things like that. And lastly, under that point is communication, because essentially that pulls all of those things together. The trust and honesty and integrity always comes through as one of the key things that employees want from their company. And the best way to have that is to communicate on all of the things that I've just spoken about, and to do it openly and have that two-way conversation so that people can query and you can give them feedback. So yeah, that's my whistle-stop tour of the fundamentals. So yeah, so in terms of, first of all, looking at the skills to be self-reflective of as a leader, is really about delivering open and honest communication, like I spoke about before. And I think sometimes I see leaders struggle because they think they've got to say one thing to the team, and they find themselves making up stories to make what they're trying to do okay, rather than just being honest with people about why they've made the decisions that they've made. And actually, if you've made it for the right reasons, you shouldn't need to kind of make stories up around it or take a different approach. You should be able to be really honest. It's about having a positive can-do attitude, because you've got to put that positivity and motivation in other people. So you've got to really take that approach. And we've all had days as leaders where you don't feel positive at all. And my team have seen it as well. I'm not, I'm not infallible. There are days where I've not been able to come in singing and dancing. But it's on the whole, having that really positive, solutions focused approach to generate that in other people. And it's leading by example. So when you've got things like your values in place, it's the worst thing if a company talks about their values and tells their clients about their values and puts it all over their website, but then in practice doesn't embody any of those values. You can't expect your team to do it if actually it's questionable whether you do it. And it's being able to show some vulnerability and humility, and being able to take feedback. I've seen some managers and senior managers struggle when maybe they've heard negative feedback or they've done something wrong. They've not been able to hold their hands up. But actually, if you want your team to be able to do that, again, you need to be able to. One of the interesting points I find is that managers get some kind of feedback, and rather than consider it and think it through and think, is there something I can take from that, their first response is yes but. So don't ask for feedback unless you're willing to actually take it on board. Same with your customers. You might not agree if they think something isn't working properly or something could be better, but if you never listen to any of them, your product will never improve, your service will never improve. And it's the same with your staff. There's always some validity to some of the feedback that you get, so you should be open to listening to it and take accountability when things go wrong. Hold your hand up and be willing to do that. Being adaptable and flexible is obviously key, because you might realise that your team needs to work in a different way. And be a decision maker, be decisive, and communicate how you've made those decisions. In terms of for your team, I think it's really important to be encouraging people's personal growth and take some responsibility for that, but share that with your team, that you want to see them grow, and work hand in hand with them to make that happen. Trust, again, is a huge thing. Being able to delegate. We all know that nobody likes being micromanaged. So just being able to pass work on and give people the creativity and ability to own that and do it in the way that they want to. Nobody's ever going to do it the same way as you, but actually they might do it better, God forbid. So being able to let them do that. Share the vision often and clearly, and communicate it with people and update people on how things are going. I know some businesses aren't sure about how much they want to share in terms of detail on numbers and goals, and where you're maybe tracking against those through the year. But actually most employees that I've spoken to and got feedback from in feedback sessions has been that they would like to know. They don't need to know the detail behind it, but actually, do they really know halfway through the year if they're anywhere near hitting the goals that the business needs to hit? So some transparency around that is really useful. Be encouraging and motivational. Be inclusive is the most important thing, I think. That's where it's really important to understand that everybody that joins your business is an individual, and being able to adapt your style and the way you work, and to take the time to understand each of those individuals and what works for them and what's important to them and what they love is really key. Because ultimately you've got to motivate and inspire your team, and that's what leadership is all about. And last but not least, the most wasted of days is one without laughter. This is too true. I read that what is it? 4-year-olds on average laugh something like 300 times a day, but your average 40-year-old takes 3 months to laugh that much. So I know it's sad. I mean, that's not true for me, but I feel sorry for the people it is. So I think the best thing you could do as a leader and as a business is to bring that joy into work. When you think how many hours we spend at work, bring joy into the workplace and send people out at the end of the day full of joy so that they can go spread it at home. So there's all sorts of ways you can do that, and I think it's important to remember it doesn't have to be expensive. I think some people think, oh, this is going to cost me lots of money and doing all sorts of buying things and taking people out. But actually, quite often the small things can be the things that bring joy. And it's about understanding what each individual in your team finds joyful. So those people that know us know that we use TikTok as a way to have joy in the office. And so we do all the silly dances and things like that. That's not for everybody. I am not suggesting that you should all go around dressing up and doing dancing, and that's not everybody's idea of joy, and that is fine. But it's understanding what do people on your team, what brings them joy, and finding a way to do some of that individually, but also what things do they have in common so you can create some community and connect people. So yeah, it's ultimately about connecting people, community, motivating people, and bringing fun and laughter and play. And you don't have to be the person with all the answers as to what's going to bring people joy. You don't want to sit in the office thinking, oh, what can I do today that's going to make people happy? Like, ask people, put it in their hands. We did a great workshop with a company called Culco, who created a culture board, which we've put into our business. And it covers everything from team events to TED Talks to book recommendations, well-being initiatives, charity work. And so everybody in the team gets like once a month to vote on what things they want to do. And then we sit and have a meeting where we kind of vote on which one of those we want to pick for the month. And then it gives us something all to try. And if it doesn't work, we're like, right, we'll try something different next month. But it just gives us something to focus on, and each individual owns a different section of that board. So as a manager, you're not responsible for always coming up with ideas or for planning and organising. You're giving everybody their own opportunity to own a part of that. So it makes it really inclusive that way as well. I think it's really important to also attach it to your brand and your values in some way. So I don't know, if you're a restaurant or a bar, that you have tastings or kind of cocktail making sessions for new cocktails, or maybe you get staff to go and try out competitors and do a bit of market research, so they get to get out of the office and do something fun. So try and tie in whatever it is that you do. I suppose TikTok is that for us, that we're about having fun and working with creative companies. So that's our way of bringing it into our kind of values as well. And really it starts before people even join. Like I said, if they're really nervous that they've quit a job, you don't want them then maybe waiting a month or even 3 months in some cases and the longer it goes for, and they have no contact with anybody. So find fun ways to get them involved, invite them along if there's team events, send them a video from all of the team, welcoming them and showing them around the office and showing where they're going to be sat. Maybe send them some stuff in the post. If part of the onboarding is that you ask them the kind of things they like, you might be able to send them more of a personalized box of fun treats. And then it's when people start making sure that early induction period, they feel really involved and part of something, and they're having fun as soon as they join. And then it's about celebrating stuff along the way. So milestones, both for the business, but also personal milestones. So if people have a big birthday, or any birthday, or they pass the driving test, or they get married, celebrate that as a team and show that you're acknowledging people's personal lives and the great things that they're doing. And it's recognition. A huge part is recognition. So for some companies, they might think that comes with financial rewards. If you're a small business, it doesn't have to be that. Small things that show meaningfully you understand what that person likes, a small gift that feels personal to them, can be just as good as giving somebody a standard £200 Amazon voucher. And also the simple things like the thank yous, you know, doing a shout out in the team to say what a great piece of work somebody did, letting them go home that little bit earlier because they put in that extra bit of effort, and you know, just little ways to acknowledge things people have done. And then team bonding is obviously a huge thing in terms of fun. There's so many things you can do in terms of going out and about, and yeah, we've done ukulele classes, we've done yoga classes, you know, there's something for everybody. Finding a way to get everybody together is really important. And thinking about their well-being is really key. So what does that look like for everybody? What would people do if they had half a day where they had half a day to themselves? What would they do? What would give them a sense of joy or a sense of peace and calm? Ask everybody that, and maybe at some point you might give everybody 4 hours and go do that thing that would bring you joy that you're never finding the time to do. Maybe that's a gift you could give them. And when you do things like team strategy days or team meetings, just try and make them a bit more interesting. Hold them in a different place, go to a different location. Always include food when you're in my team. We have food for everything because that brings us all joy. So yeah, that's kind of a whistle-stop tour of the types of things you could do.
No, there was some really good tips in there, to be fair. I was scribbling down some notes myself, but it's interesting you said the wellbeing days as well, because one of our clients has just started doing that. He's giving them like half a day in the year, I think it's in the year, where they can go and do something, but he pays for it as well.
Yeah.
So it was like, it could be a cooking class, it could be yoga, it could be whatever. That's so cool.
Yeah, and we've done surveys with companies before. Sometimes people just want to take their dogs for a walk, or they just want to go to the cinema. But there's just, you know, life can just feel a bit like a treadmill, and if you can give people that little moment out that they weren't expecting, it's amazing how much it can like increase people's happiness.
So true. All right. So now that we've kind of gone through all of that, and that is obviously the basis for where we're going when we're talking about, you know, your employees are your biggest marketing asset. So so obviously us giving all of that background information from Sally there, which was great. You know, that is stuff that you need to be doing in order to be able to do these next steps. So we'd like you to take a moment to think about this next slide. So how many of your employees have actually posted about your business this week on their own social media? So just have a think about that. So there was 67% of you said that your staff were engaged. How many of you that said yes would say yes to this one too? It's just food for thought. There's no poll. I'm not asking you to put yes or anything. I just want you to have a think about it. How many of you can actually honestly say, yes, my employees have posted personally this week? With that thought, you then need to have a think about this one too. Your employees have 10 times more social reach than any of your business accounts. And those sales leads are then generated by those what we call employee advocacy, are 7 times more likely to close than the ones that have come through your business. So interesting food for thought there. So what is employee advocacy? So I'm afraid I'm going to waffle on now, so everybody hold on to your seats. But it is really important. So we talked about the engagement side of things and how Sally has explained those 3 key points there. But then what comes next? What is it advocacy? Put simply, it's the promotion and awareness of a company and or its products and services by the employees who work there. So it is your employees going onto their own LinkedIn, their own Facebook, Instagram, whatever it is, and shouting about the business that they work for. And that could just be something like what Sally's been saying, if you've treated them to something, you've taken them out for a meal, you've allowed them to do X, Y, Z, them just sharing that on their own personal social media, obviously then bolsters your brand as well. But what's the difference? So there is a difference, and it's kind of like, you can liken it to Batman and Superman if you want. And I've had a lot of fun with these Lego things. I'm just going to point that out because this is Sally's branding with the Lego and stuff, and I'm absolutely loving it. It's so fun. So obviously there's a lot of out there, you tend to hear people will there's a bit of a negative argument about engagement and advocacy, and are they the same thing? Yeah, they're the same thing, or they're not. So there's like a little bit of a fight going on, but actually they work together. Without engagement, employee engagement, you can't really get advocacy. And there's also this flip side, that advocacy, once you've got that, you still need to keep them engaged, otherwise you'll lose that. So from the employee engagement side, as Sally has said, we're focusing on creating positive work environments. We're focusing on employees being motivated, inspired, confident, satisfied, all of those things that Sally has just been through. The employee advocacy side of things is then empowering those employees to promote the company's branded content across their personal networks. There is an element of empowering, because people won't just share it because you're telling them to share it. Who wants to stick branded content all over their own Facebook? Because to be honest, like, you're probably gonna miff off your family or your friends if it's just plowed with, like, if I was just putting expand, everything expand on my personal accounts, then people would probably stop following me or would at least text me and moan about it. So it's just being aware of that. So why is it important then? So like I was saying, you cannot force people to do this, as much as this little guy who's trying to force this one to get on his social media and tell everyone how great they are. It's not something that you can force. I have worked with businesses where they have put it as part of their contract that they need to post X, Y, Z. I'm not a massive fan of that. I think there's a way that you can actually kind of work with your employees to, like Sally says, to bring joy and for them to want to naturally shout about the place that they work for because they enjoy working there. And I think that's what is really important and what the difference is. So there's 3 main reasons why you should be working on employee advocacy. Employees, we've already said, employees reach and engage more of your audience. So naturally, employee accounts will have a better reach than any business accounts will. And if your employees are working on, for example, their LinkedIn, and they have more relevant connections on their LinkedIn than you do the followers on your page, then that makes sense. And if you've got 10 employees all working like that, then just think of the amount of people that you can reach. I mean, the mass is there for you. You can crush your targets. So your sales targets, all you need to do is give your salespeople some support and you can turn them into social sellers. So they don't need to pick the phone up anymore. All they need to do is go out there and talk. and talk openly on their channels. They can go, they can talk about the business that you work for, they can talk about their personal, everybody is passionate about something. There's a reason why we work in the businesses we work in. I'm passionate about this, so I'm talking about it. That's why I put information out on my social media about it, because I enjoy it. So helping them to understand what and how to share things is obviously going to help them in terms of crushing their targets. And also, you'll attract quality employees, you'll recruit, everybody is struggling recruitment. I don't know a single person that has said to me recently, oh, it was well easy to recruit. The world has changed now. No longer are we kind of sitting in front of people and making them sell themselves to us as businesses. We have to now sell us to them. You know, why would they want to join Xpand? You know, why would they want to join Limelight HR? We have to really kind of sell who we are and what we can do for that person. So if your employees who are currently working in your business are doing that for you, then how amazing is that? You know, if you've got 10 people all talking about how great it is to work at X place, then naturally more people are going to want to queue at the door. So if that's not enough though, I like my stats, another one for you. So according to Elderman Trust Barometer, people are 3 times more likely to trust company information shared by an employee than that of the CEO. Well, that just makes sense to me. You know, if somebody is invested in their business and they own the business, then whatever they say, you're going to be like, well, yeah, it's your business. But if I say something about Xpand instead of Jag, or if one of the guys like Fran or Matt, they go out and they're talking naturally about working here, that is much more authentic than that of Jag going out there and saying, Xpand's a great place to work. Well, yeah, you're going to say that. But if your employees are doing that, then, obviously that makes sense. And even when it comes to, the direct sales as well, if the people in the business are talking positively about working in that business, then that's attractive to another business as well that wants to work with them. If people are generally happy and you're trying to decide between 2 businesses, that's obviously just going to put that other business higher up. So it makes a lot of sense. So what can you do today? What actions can you take away from this? Sally, what actions can they take away from employee engagement side?
So I think by the fact that I went through so many points suggests there's an awful lot that people can do. And I think that's quite often people can get overwhelmed by what there is to do. But I suppose the point is, if you don't start somewhere, you don't start making progress. So I think having a general assessment of your strengths and weaknesses, even if you've jotted down some of the things I talked about and something stands out in your mind as to, okay, what's one of the areas that stands out that either as a quick win or something that's really important that we tackle that sooner than later. So pick that one area to focus on and then look at what the solutions are and set yourself a clear timeline as to when you're going to implement that, but involve your team in creating that change. So get their ideas, get their thoughts. You might even put some people in charge of making the change and just leave them to it. Or it might just be that you have a bit of a feedback session or a team meeting about it. But yeah, pick one area, focus on it, get feedback and make it happen.
Okay. Advocacy point of view. So there are so many programs out there that you can use to support your employee advocacy. Lots of different ones. I know LinkedIn does one, does its own version. And if you have the budget to invest in something like that, then great, go ahead and do it. But there are some steps that you can take yourself, some easier steps when you don't have the budget to work with somebody like that, or to work with an agency who can help support and bolster that advocacy. These 3 steps are probably the easiest things that you can take away and do today. So within your business, you will have some brand ambassadors. There will be people that are engaged and love working there and enjoy being at the business and who could naturally talk about the business. So identifying them today, even if it's just one or two to start with, you know, as Sally said, lead by example. You know, once people in the business see other people doing it, they naturally will follow. So today, go away, identify who those people might be. What you then need to do is actually educate and inform them. So explain to them why you have highlighted them as brand ambassadors. You know, make them feel good about what you're asking them to do. This is, you know, it's almost an honour to be, you know, picked out as being somebody who you believe has the influence and the ability to do this. So talk to them about the why. And explain to them how to do it as well. So, you know, it might be that you invest in some training for them so that they, you know, it could be that they're just scared, they're just not sure. They want to talk about your business and they want to advocate for you. And they do naturally do that when they're out and about in the world, but they just don't know how to formulate that into content for LinkedIn or for Facebook. They just don't know how to say it. So you might just need to have a little chat with them and educate them on the whys and the whens and the hows. One thing as well, just to point out there, is to make sure that you do have a social media policy in place and that you run through that with them as well. So just making sure that you outline, you know, where the parameters are and what's not okay and what is okay, because ultimately it comes back on you because they're employed for you. So just be mindful of that. The other thing is to make it easy for them. We're all time poor, and at the end of the day, their job is to do their job. This is, you know, this is an extra kind of request on top that you would like them to go out and talk about, you know, positively working here. I mean, if you've done all those things that Sally said, naturally people should be doing that. But sometimes people just need a little bit of encouragement. So make it easy for them, provide them with content, make sure that your company pages are basically a resource. You know, they are there so that people can go there and they can pick and choose bits that they want to be a part of. But also, you know, having regular content meetings, or, you know, just sitting down with them and talking about their content pillars. So what, you know, what things they want to talk about. Remembering the 80-20 rule. So, you know, 80% of what we post should be to do with us and our things, and not promotional, and then 20 promotional. So just help them understand how that looks for them, you know, and what they do want to talk about, but ultimately making sure that there's a plan in place and that they have all these resources to pull from. So let's dive into a quick example. So we've been working with Mitchell's. They're located in Nottinghamshire, and they're a pallet delivery company. They have well over 30 employees. I just asked him for an update actually on that number because I'm pretty sure it's a lot higher than that. They're working, they have drivers, sales, customer support, loads of different office roles within Mitchell's. They're a great company and they've worked really hard on establishing their brand. So what they do right, they basically, they came to Xpand and they've worked with us on a strategy. We did a full strategy with them. We've built their website and now we're working on their social media. These guys get it right. Sally, they are totally following what you've been going through. They are on there with those three key context points that you mentioned. They genuinely care about their employees. They really do. They listen to them. They live the values. They give their employees a voice. They allow them to speak. You know, I've been in businesses where that's not being allowed, and really you kind of just come in and you do your job and you go on. They do have fun. There's definitely joy in their workplace, definitely. They have leaders. They train their people on advocacy and they have a content plan in place. So the guys all know what's going on. So the result, here we go.
The family orientation and, you know, notes never too much trouble. If you need help with anything, if you're struggling, there's always someone there for you. And it's a nice place to work. People genuinely care about each other.
And also the lovely Richard.
We have an amount of people queuing for driving jobs now. Now that's born of a lot of things. This is born of perception, equipment, but I think there's also a great amount of employee advocacy that makes people want to be employed by Mitchells.
So if that was not enough and a nice bit of information to leave you with there, in summary, engaged employees are vital to the success of your marketing strategy. That is a fact. Without engaged employees, you're not able to push the advocacy. And in the world that we're living in now, one of the biggest things that people are looking at is personal brand and what the people in the business are talking about. It's all about that trust. We've had a pandemic and people have changed the way that they look about businesses that they're working with and businesses that they want to work for. So it is a really important aspect of your marketing strategy, and it's where I would really push people to begin. Remembering that model, that process in the middle, brand and content being at the heart. I think, you know, you could put your employees in there as well. So ultimately, we're looking at the ladder, we're working together, as we said, employee engagement, employee advocacy leads into social media amplification, which obviously then leads to more business and more recruits. It's like a match made in heaven. And even Batman and Superman made up in the end. So you should now know the 3 key areas companies need to understand from a HR perspective in order to build a successful business that people love working in. How and why engaged employees are a vital part of your marketing strategy, and what employee advocacy is and what you should be doing in the business to promote it. So congratulations, you've all graduated. So if anybody has any questions, if they want to pop them in the question box and we can answer them. Otherwise, I will leave our information up there. You should be able to just scan that if you want to follow myself or Sally on LinkedIn. Not sure if Sally is still there.
Yeah.
Like, really quiet.
Uncharacteristically quiet from my side.
I'll take it as a good sign. So yeah. Yeah, good. So yeah, I can't see any questions on there. But if anybody does have any and you just don't want to ask them publicly, which I completely understand, feel free to drop Sally or myself a message over LinkedIn, or, you know, get in touch with us on any of the links there, and we'd be happy to help. So I know we have gone slightly over, and I apologise for that. It's probably my technical. Yeah, I probably will be letting Naya do the tech next time. So yeah, thank you very much, and hopefully we'll see you again soon.
Thanks, everyone.